Hey, what's up everyone? This video is going to be about memories, particularly alternative memories, as is the major association with this particular phenomenon that we experience, known as the Mandela effect. The ME for short. So, many of us will have one memory, others, such as loved ones, will have another memory, completely different memory. It's quite perplexing. It really is. And some people say, no, well, it just was that way. No, there is no change, it just is that way. Well, that's the thing about this. There are changes for us. Now, this particular statue is the one on the square, one county over from us. And they changed the square a while back, but they didn't change the statue. And my father brought up, wasn't that statue facing the other direction? But no, it wasn't for me, and it wasn't for Mama. Now, even though that's a memory of 2 against 1, I got to thinking about it immediately. And I thought, maybe for him it was facing the other way. And he has an alternative memory. And then he said, oh no, never mind. Maybe I just never paid enough attention. Immediately he brushed it off. And said, no, I just never paid enough attention. Okay, maybe it's probably always been that way. What it is, it's always been that way. It's always been that way, what it is now. And I thought to myself, and I said, that's the problem that so many people do. Including my parents, including the person next to you, including the people around us, everyone. They do it all the time. Oh, my memory, okay, I must have been wrong. And then they just currently download, I guess, if you want to call it that, the information of the world around us. The current reality around us. And then eventually sometimes their brain just, I don't know if it's a coping mechanism, a psychological coping mechanism, or what you would call it. But it kind of annoys me when so many people, especially your own loved ones, say, oh, okay, no, I'm not, it's just the way, okay, that's the way it's always been, I was just wrong. My own grandparents have done that, family members, parents. I myself can say that I'm guilty of doing that in the past. But, and sometimes, sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you can remember something wrong. That's not the case. I'm not saying that you can't remember something wrong. That would be utterly insane to say that. But, and it was 2 against 1. Both my mama and I remembered it the way it is now, and the way it's been for us. But I thought, maybe that's one of those alternative memories. Maybe there was a shift that took place for him once more, but it didn't take place for us. Maybe not. But it got me to thinking about it. And one thing that I wish would not happen is I wish people wouldn't just brush it off and go, oh, okay, it is this way now. It is what it is. As the phrase Jerry Seinfeld hates. Jerry Seinfeld did a whole entire comedy skit about it, comedy sketch, whatever you want to call it, about it is what it is. He said, oh no, I thought it was what it wasn't. I thought it is what it wasn't. It is what it isn't. It was what it wasn't. Of course it is what it is. He did that whole thing. What's up with that? But anyway, yeah, he did that whole thing about it is what it is and how much he dislikes that. So if you're just now, if you've selected this video and you're watching this video right now, then you're probably already familiar with this phenomenon, as many of my subscribers already are. But a lot of times, a lot of the YouTube channels out there, and I'm not saying you do, I'm not saying I do, I'm not saying anyone in the immediate circle of YouTube friends does, but a lot of times they continue talking about the phenomenon, but there's not as much discussion into the how. Then you start, because it starts opening up an entire other can of worms. Alternate realities? Altered reality? Parallel universes? Alternate timelines? Universes merging? Things like that. You get into that, and then it's like, well, then it starts getting into the whole Matrix situation, or dark forces manipulating and changing things. And I was asked by a prominent YouTuber during a live call-in a couple of years back, or maybe a year back, And I greatly appreciate that. If I ever can get my phone working well enough again, I'm going to try to do some more call-ins to some live streams. But they asked whether I thought this phenomenon was a good thing or a bad thing. And it kind of reminds me of a song I wrote one time. I stated, this is the time I chose the burnt side of the coin because the shine hid the truth by reflection. And that's one thing that I wrote. I chose the burnt side of the coin because the shine hid the truth by reflection. It just reflects the light. It just shines off. The beauty shines off of it, and you can't tell if you chose the burnt side. You get it for what it is. You get life for what it is. And that was in a song. It actually can be interpreted in many ways. When I go through emotions, a lot of times I have to channel that into art and artistic expression. And I usually channel it into poetry. I might write a rap song. I might write a country song. I might write a poem. I might write a dark, depressing, heavy metal style or rock song. I never know what I'll write. It could be rock, pop, hip-hop, country. It could be anything. It could be spoken word, poetic, or poetry style. But a lot of times it's good to put your emotions into artistic expression and give yourself a medium outlet that way. Instead of letting that darkness, depression, anxiety, emotion bubble up and build up inside you, it's better to let it flow out through that form of energy than building it up and letting it flow out any other way. That's the way I try to let it out through artistic expression. And this right here made me start thinking about the phenomenon again, as I do many times. Different little things could be different for one person, but so many times, too many times, people go, okay, well maybe I was wrong then. Okay, that's the way it's always been. I was discussing with my mama this evening regarding the lion lying with the lamb. And she started talking about the depictions in her old Bibles. My granny's Bibles, her mama's Bibles. And inside them were images, beautiful images, she said she can still vividly remember, of the lion with the lamb. Even though it's now wolf with lamb. And I think it was Brian McFarlane who posted a new video, which I need to do another call into their channels sometime. I'll try. But he found, I think, a Bible that still says lion with lamb, if that's correct. If I'm not correct, then please let me know. And many of us, including my mama, remember lion and lamb, not wolf and lamb. And she said she could still vividly see so many different images of the lion lying with the lamb, laying down with it in the Bibles. And I said, yeah, I do too. I remember that vividly. And it would be nice if we could look through and see if it's still there, because in the older Bibles they had all kinds of beautiful artistic expressions. Back to that again. Different artist interpretations and drawings and beautiful portraits of paintings and drawings and all kinds of things depicting illustrations. That's it. Illustrations of biblical stories and parables and things that Jesus told, and parables that were in the Bible, and all of these artist illustrations were all listed in there, and one of them was the lion and the lamb. And so many of us remember these things so vividly, and they're stating, well, we just misquoted it all this time. Even though reference books for the Bible still state it that way, because for some reason, I still can't explain why there's still residue, why residue exists and is allowed to exist of our memories. If it carried over to an alternate reality, why is residue still existing, unless something like CERN has opened up multiple portals, and they're just like the Native American Indian Hopi prophecy stated about the blue and red Kachina. Look that up, by the way. I made a video about it a while back, but I might make another one, where realities will be off, people will be in the wrong bodies, and harboring multiple spirits, some having none, some having many, and things being off, people, genders being completely off, people not knowing where they are, what they are, which universe they belong in, which all realities being wrong until they all become one again, and God sets things right. The source, the grandfather. Elohim HaMashiach Yeshua, the Lord, God, the source, the I Am, the source of all. So, until things are set right, the craziness is going to still ensue. I know we're supposed to be meek as a child. Like my mama said, she still says it. You're supposed to be meek like a child. You're supposed to have the mind of a child. That's what the Lord wants. And that verse, "A child shall lead them," is really, really important as well. And she even stated, why are preachers not talking about the Mandela effect? Why are preachers not talking about the fact that the Bibles have changed for us? The Bibles are different for many individuals. And people will say, no, that's not just the way we remember. That's just the way it was, and that's the way it is. And you'll get a lot of these people that will downright say that, including myself and many others. That's the way it was. Yes, that's the way it was for us. And something big is going on. Maybe it's part of the famine of the Word of God. I don't know. I do know there's a lot going on. And this whole statue thing made me think more about it. How this might not even be one. Might not even be a shift for him and not for us. But it got me to thinking about it. And that's what this whole thing is about. That's what the channel is about. That's what everything is about. Getting people thinking about the phenomenon. I was asked whether I thought this phenomenon was a good thing or a bad thing. And I stated, I in my opinion, it could be either way. It's neither good nor bad. Obviously, anything that changes biblical text would be a bad thing. But the phenomenon itself and what we tend to experience, it can wake up masses of people if they experience it, which is a good thing. But the fact that so many negative aspects of it are happening can be a bad thing. So that's why I said it's a good and a bad thing. A little both. Because it gets very annoying when items disappear, things shift on you, things change. Your whole reality is flipped upside down. You're questioning everything. Things are changing on you. And hopefully the Lord balances things out soon, because things are getting crazy. And they're going to get trippier. They're going to get crazier, obviously. This is something I've dealt with since I was a child, this whole strange spiritual symptoms, strange occurrences. And then it ramped up during the awakening symptoms of 2012 to 2015, and then this phenomenon came about. And it's just like, boom, all of a sudden. But a lot of times I've channeled my emotions into artistic expression, like poetry and music. I've written songs and poems and things, and I'm going to show some of them from the past that link a lot with this phenomenon. But this whole statue thing, that got me thinking, his alternative memory. And then people, sadly, always just go, oh, okay, it must have always been that way. I must be wrong. It must have always been that way for me as well. I just didn't. And then I don't know whether they just adjust or what. But they just never go back and think about it again. There's been many strange occurrences that I haven't even shared. There have been so many that I haven't shared on this channel. And there's one particular occurrence that, now this isn't the Mandela effect phenomenon, but my pop-pop passed away. My father's dad passed away several years ago. And he got a call from the hospital room that he was in after he passed. hospital room that he was in, from that hospital where he was staying. And it called my daddy's phone. And he still doesn't talk about this to this day. And it said, "Get me out of here. Let me out. I want to go home." And it freaked him out to the point he's never talked about it again. He also stated he got a phone call a few weeks ago by a number, and it was by a similar to my mama's. And he said a voice called him, and he said, "I swore it was Mama." He swore it was my mama talking on the phone. Now, I know they can mimic voices, imitate voices in people now, and everything's possible with modern technology. But he's also saw a poster. He's seen a poster in Missouri, he said, that made him think that someone had taken a picture of me and put it on a poster and was using me for an advertisement or something. And he said that it was me. He called Mama, and he was so worried about it, he was like, he thought it was me. And this was several years ago. And there's also been situations where an occurrence took place where he just met this individual. And then the guy tells them this story about some crazy thing that happened to him. And he drove into this garden area with his 18-wheeler truck and drove into this narrow lane. And I said, "You've told us this story before." Mama and I were sitting on that couch having deja vu because he was telling us that story again for the second time. It happened months ago for us. He'd already told us that story because it had, and he said, "No, I couldn't have." He said, "It just happened." And this was before this phenomenon. And we said, okay, never mind. And he was like frustrated saying, "No, it just happened this week. I couldn't have already told you about it." And he said it had just happened. He just met that guy and that other truck driver, and it had just happened that week. But yet for us, he'd already told that story probably a couple of years back. We even knew it was going to happen. So that's the kind of thing this phenomenon entails. And a lot of people brush it off and go, "Oh, okay, yeah, okay, never mind. I'm just going to ignore this," or, "Oh, maybe I was wrong," or things like that, instead of looking into the phenomenon. And both Mama and I were wondering, why don't preachers look into this? Why don't pastors look into it? Why don't those that read the Word look into it? Why don't many people look into this phenomenon? But the problem is so many people also brush it off when they say, "Oh, okay, I can now remember this reality's version. I'm just going to brush it off. Oh, okay, that looks right now." Sometimes I have a dual memory, and it happens. The dual memory phenomenon, that is pretty crazy. The flip-flops get crazy. I knew people on this channel that no longer exist, and some people that claim they've known me all that time, and I don't know who they are, and some people that are all this time, I should say, and some people that have disappeared, and I can't find them anymore. YouTube friends I had, YouTube channels that I've watched, gone. Some of which never posted for 2 years, and all of a sudden claims they've been posting every day, and even shows they've been posting every day with no lapse. This phenomenon is quite perplexing. So what's behind the Mandela effect? And I'm sharing some personal experiences for this video. It's quite frustrating when someone just tends to ignore the situation and go ahead and accept the reality around them. You have to accept it, obviously, and I guess when you start getting into this, it could drive you crazy. I get that. But when someone goes, "Oh, I guess it's always been that way for me too. Okay, I was just wrong." Don't do that. Never give up on your own memory, especially if it's vivid. Now, with a situation like this with a statue, maybe that's just an example. That is just an example. Maybe he could have been wrong on it. Maybe he didn't come from maybe the version of his consciousness that's here now didn't come from a reality where that was the case. Or he wasn't getting a download from a reality where that was the case. However this phenomenon happens. But maybe he was. Even though Mama and I remember it being that way, he said, wasn't it turned the other direction? Unless he's just thinking of it from the other angle. Coming into town instead of leaving town. I don't know. But regardless, we all seem to have different memories, even within our own families. And sometimes people will generally just state, oh, okay, I'm just going to accept the memory I'm just going to accept what's the version that's here and forget about my memory. I must have been wrong. Don't do that. Unless you're 100% certain and you suddenly go, oh, okay, I remember now that that was this way. That can happen. I mean, we could be wrong. That's obvious. But try to remember. Don't just immediately just disown your memory, or just immediately disregard your memory, I should say. Keep on trying to remember. Peace and much love. This has been my podcast for now, my message for now regarding the Mandela effect, the ME phenomenon. And give your thoughts, leave your comments in the comment section below. My PayPal is below. I don't have anything left on PayPal. If anyone would like to donate, feel free to help out with the channel and just help out with finances in general, because things have been literally crazy, but that's life. It's the ups and downs. I guess if you didn't experience the low points, you wouldn't know how good it feels to reach the high points someday, if we ever reach them. And you can appreciate the higher points more because you experienced the low ones. So just remember that. Let's remove that negativity and darkness and bring in some light and love. Peace and much love. I love everyone. I love you all. Like, subscribe, share, leave your comments in the comment section below, and give your thoughts and any of your own personal experiences. This is a place for everyone to share. I love you all so much. Signing out.